it isn't it isn't very commonly asked, as commonly as I wish it was asked. Why corporate connections? Because the why really does drive the passion of the kind of people that we're bringing in. And I love saying this, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not your why.
Hello everyone. So we are back with a new topic, that is why corporate connections. And today we have with us none other than Mr. Yash Vasant, who is the National Director for Corporate Connections in India, Nepal and Sri Lanka.
Well,
Right?
thank you very much, Savan. It's a pleasure to
So
be here.
yeah, thank you so much for giving your precious time. So Yash, this is a concept on why corporate connections, as you had corporate connections for 3 countries. So you can be a better person to answer. So there are many multiple times some of the questions come up. So we have set up this interview. So my first questions remains the same as the concept says. Why corporate connections?
Man, first, Savan, thank you very much for having me. And it's a very beautiful question because a lot of times, as I get to travel around the world or to meet the incredible members that we have, it isn't it isn't very commonly asked, as commonly as I wish it was asked. Why corporate connections? Because the why really does drive the passion of the kind of people that we're bringing in. And I love saying this, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not your why. And why corporate connections is because I am fundamentally certain about three things. Number one, no matter who you are, what you're doing, what scale of business you're at, if you're an entrepreneur or a professional or a business person of any form in any part of the world, your relationships are the only way for you to paradigm shift, are the only way for you to grow. No matter what advertising, what branding, what you do, but your personal relationships with your clients, vendors, friends, associates across the board is what is taking you one step forward, one at a time, or multifold at a time. Number two, I'm more certain than ever that the richer we get and the larger our companies get, the lonelier we get. Also, the crazier we get, in a sense, where we're lonely not because it is a function of the scale at which you're in. We're lonely because in on our mountain it's only us. We just don't look next to us and there's another mountain, maybe a taller mountain with someone else there, and we're not lonely anymore. The idea is to identify people who are climbing mountains and who are on top of them, because when you're in your organization at the very top, it becomes lonely, because since we take all the problems to be ours, we often even have a sense of narcissism where my problems are bigger than yours, which makes us in some very twisted sense feel proud. That my problems are bigger than your problems, that means I'm bigger, which also makes you feel lonely because these are problems that only I have. But the truth is, everyone has their own set of challenges that they face. And when we get together with common access, when we get together with people who are in a similar circumstances as we are, it brings about a sense of safety, a sense of peace, and above all, a sense of drive that I think is critical to go to the next level in whatever it is that you're doing. And the third reason as to why corporate connections is because, beyond a doubt, I I am certain, and this is the third thing I'm certain of, is in the process of getting, which a lot of us have gotten. I've been blessed myself. I know you've been. We've achieved a lot in our life, but in the process of getting, we forget to ask the question, what are we becoming?
True.
Because this life isn't about getting, it's about becoming. You could be, the saddest thing in the world is the richest man in the graveyard. Corporate connections ensures that you're putting yourself in an environment that pushes you to, from basic stuff, like it grooms you into a better kind of person, the way you walk, talk, act, and dress, to the kind of access to information, intellect, knowledge, resources that you may have because of the pool that you surrounded yourself with. There was a recent study done at Harvard, and they said, it was a long study, I think 30, 35 years, where the idea was 99% of a man or a person's success is because of the reference group they have. A reference group meaning who they surround yourself with, who they surround themselves with. And this is so important to understand because look at everyone in your life who's successful and see who's around them. You'll see this said by some great people over and over again in different ways, but the idea remains the same. Who's in your room? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Because they will catapult you to another level. Because overall, when you look at CC, and I presume it's going to be one of your questions. If you allow me, I can take it here and flow. Is if that is a clarity on why CC, the what is simple, and the what I can share through a little story, if I may. Can I
True.
tell you a
Yeah, yeah.
story?
Please,
Yeah.
please.
So once upon a time there was this fisherman, and this fisherman is fishing on his boat, and he's sitting there with his hook in the water, and he's fishing, and someone like us, a bystander, is watching him from a bridge. And he's watching him from the bridge, and he sees that this guy is fishing patiently, and every time this guy caught a fish, he would look at the fish and he would see that if he caught a big fish, he would throw it back in the water. If it was a small fish, he would keep it. Big fish back in the water, small fish in the bucket. Big fish back in the water, small fish, he would keep it. And he kept doing this. And the bystander who was like us said, "Oh my God, man, what is wrong with this guy?" So he goes up to him and he taps the fisherman on the shoulder and says, "Sir, can I please ask you a question? It's been bothering me." The guy says, "Sure, go ahead." He says, "Well, sir, every time you catch a big fish, you throw it in the water and you keep the small fish. Why? Why would you do such a thing?" And the man says, "Well, sir, I understand why you're so upset. Even I would have loved to keep the big fish. But unfortunately, my frying pan at home is very small. Badi fish fit nahi hoti." And man, CC is not about big fish or small fish. Corporate Connections is about the frying pan at home. And the only way to increase the size of your frying pan at home, the metaphorical frying pan, which represents your capacity, which represents, what it is that you want to achieve, which represents hunger, not food.
True.
CC is not food, CC is hunger. Food any restaurant will give you. Who's going to give you hunger? And it is the people around you that make you hungry, that make you want to grow. If you look at my office, it says my team is always hungry, right? And that hunger and that frying pan and the size of that frying pan is why CC is doing what it's doing.
Great. Such a great insight.
Thank you.
So, as my next question was, what is CC? But you have already answered
Sure,
the
sure.
question.
CC is a place where you increase the size of your frying pan.
Great. So, but you told an amazing storytelling. You are master that. Everybody knows you that you are a master in storytelling.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yes, Yash, my next question is, how is corporate connections helpful to any organization or a person for their exponential growth?
Okay, well, look, this interview, you told me to be candid. So I will be candid with whoever is kind of watching and interested in corporate connections. And usually this person is going to be someone at a very high level of
True.
business caliber. Is let's not confuse this. Business was happening before corporate connections. Business will happen after corporate connections, and people are growing without it.
True.
However, the word you use, exponential, is critical because not that I am in any form promoting or suggesting anabolic steroids, but just as an example, just by walking, your heart is beating and you're doing some cardiovascular exercise. But when you go to the gym, you're doing something more. And then when you take in the right protein, the right nutrition, and maybe even steroids, you see an incredible exponential jump in the body that you were trying to make and trying to achieve. The same fundamental comes into corporate connections. Because CC is nothing but a gym, just like a fit person is found in the gym, a rich person is found in CC. Why? Why? And ask yourself this, and it's a funny question, Savan. When you walk into a gym at 6 a.m. in the morning, do you see the first thing you see when you go in, right? If I'm assuming you have, do you see fit people or unfit people?
Fit people.
Isn't that weird? A lot of times, that's why people don't start, by the way, because you go into a gym, and let's say you haven't worked out your whole life, you go in and you look at everyone with big biceps and like really ripped people, and you're like, boss, this is too much. I can't do this.
True.
But that's a paradox of the world. You find the fit guys in the gym, and the unfit guys feel scared that this is for the fit people, but they don't realize that they were fit because they've been doing this for the past so many months and years. So just as in a gym, you walk in and you'll find the fit people, you will see the same happen in a corporate connections chapter, for example. Because a fundamental understanding is that you're doing what you're doing, and people that are the best at what they do from different backgrounds, from different cultures, different experiences, different expertise, different stories, they come together, right? All of a sudden, you have this euphoric shift in your mindset, in your frying pan, so to say, in your capacity to do what you do, and more importantly, in your access to resources and opportunities.
Okay.
Because I think business is a function of just two things. Well, it's a function of number one, hard work, your acceptance, you just putting yourself there. And the second one is access. There are people that know and there are people that don't know.
No.
In real estate, the guys that make money are the people that know that this is the location that's going to come up. In equity, it's going to be this is the right time to buy, and there's people with access to information, knowledge, so on and so forth. So it isn't corporate connections isn't a place for you to just kind of boost a little bit of the business that you're doing. If you're coming in, you are committing to accept exponential change in yourself, in your organizations, and in your life, because it is a family organization. Your spouse is a part of it. It changes the ethos of who you are, and hence it is a steroid to an already powerful business person or professional that exists in the world today.
Great, Yash. So, next question is how corporate connections came into existence.
Oh man, that's quite a story. So I remember, I'll tell you the story. Back in the day, I was at a convention in Long Beach, in near Los Angeles, and I was at a convention for another organization, and I was having this conversation where in my city, I live in Ahmedabad, and in my city in India, I was telling this friend of mine who's from Israel, and I was saying we have this incredible, bunch of people who are high level entrepreneurs, so to say, and I want to create a group of people that have a minimum net worth of 500 crores. Right? I want to get these guys together because if they come together, magic is going to happen. And he said, shh, Yash, here we don't like to talk about this stuff. You know what? Here's a card. And he hands me a card and says on the second floor, we were at the Hyatt, says, go down this alley, go down the hallway, and you will find this person there. Go meet him and talk to him. I said, okay, sounds like something I should do. So I take the card, I go up to the second floor, walk down this very dimly lit hallway, and go into this room. And there were two people there, and I meet Robert, who's our global president. And I remember giving him my card and him giving me his, and I said, okay, what are you doing? He said, we're bringing the influencers of the world together. And I said, well, man, that's all I need to know. Whenever you're in India, I am going to found it and we're going to do this together. And he said, it's a deal, and we shook hands. This is literally how it was incepted and how we founded Corporate Connections here. And then when we came together, Gaurav, who's my partner, he's from Surat, we really related on one fundamental aspect of life, which is I know all over Instagram and everywhere you're going to hear people say this India ka zamana hai, apna time aa gaya. Man, the truth is, apna time tha. We're just realizing it now. We're just kind of getting this stuff together. The truth is, we are in an age where there are only two possibilities. Let's discuss both. Possibility one is in the next 10 years, we all die. Finish? No problem. Which is also great. Possibility two, though, the story I like to believe is we are going to see unprecedented growth which we could not fathom. We can't comprehend what's going to happen. We're talking about an overall growth in the economy, especially in the Indian subcontinent, which is going to take the world by storm. And I am certain no one individual can cater to this demand by itself. And hence, when you're with a group of people that can cater it with different skill sets, we're able to maximize how much we would have earned. And I think now more than ever, it is a time to surround yourself with extraordinary people. And hence, now more than ever, it is a time to find if corporate connections is for you, then that, or whatever organization sails your boat. But now is the time to kind of capture it. And that's how I look at it. And that's how CC and Gaurav and I agreed on this one fundamental aspect. And today, now we're in about 17 cities in India. And I'll tell you this, Savan. Sorry to deviate from your question, but man, I wasn't exposed. I've seen 80 countries. I haven't seen 80 cities in India. And through corporate connections, I've been going to cities like, man, Bhilwara or Ranchi, Raipur, uh, you know, places, Bhubaneswar, and the kind of power I'm seeing, the kind of business that I'm seeing, it blows my mind away. Blows my mind away. And we're at this cusp, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what's coming.
So this was an great story, awesome insights. So how does many people see there are multiple of networking organizations.
Sure.
So people do ask how it is different. See, I get access there, I get a lot of people there. I get access here, I get a lot of people here. So what is the major difference between other organizations, be it any
Sure, sure.
organization, and corporate connections?
Man, so thank you for asking because you're right. And let's just clarify one thing. In India, you could walk into a school bus and you could meet millions of people, right? So the opportunity to network exists. You could walk on the street and you could just have a lot of people. We are the number one in people, and around the world, people are everywhere. Every organization, and I think there are great organizations, we must first fundamentally understand how they function. I specialize in neuroscience and behavioral psychology from the University of California, Los Angeles. And even during my education and till now, the one thing I've been intrigued about, I have studied, I have mastered in whatever sense mastery exists, and I have built my business life around it, my occupation around it, is understanding communities. In a deeper sense, it's about understanding group dynamics. So, to understand the difference between organizations, let's first understand the basics so we can talk the same language. Group dynamics, just like politics in a sense, about political views, have a left wing and a right wing. Okay,
True.
you have a spectrum where organizations exist. On one side of the spectrum, you have organizations that are militaristic in nature. They're unbelievably amazing structure. This is what you do. You come at this time, you do this, you say this, and boom, this is what's going to happen. These are usually more transactional in nature, but they get the job done. Don't get me wrong, they're beautiful. They have a lot of rules and regulations to follow. On the other end of the spectrum, you have organizations, for instance, so let's say on the left side, you have an organization such as BNI, which I think is an incredible organization in the world for business owners wanting to get the job done. Then on the right, you have organizations such as a Rotary or a Lions or a YPO, or instance, where there is a lot of freedom in structure, where it's more social in its nature, where the cause is more societal, is more humanitarian in its nature, where peer-to-peer advisory just forms the core, for instance, in YPO, which I really look up to as an organization. And then you have nothing in the middle. This is why Corporate Connections existed. Corporate Connections is the only organization in the world which is a perfect blend of bringing in structure with the free flow that is demanded by a community of highly achieved entrepreneurs. That's what CC did. That's why this is a playing field that no one can ever dream of. You have, because here's the truth, man. What would football be without rules? Serious question. What do you think football would be without rules?
Nothing.
Kickboxing. Man, we would kill each other. What would cricket be without rules? We'd take the stump and hit someone on the head. Rules fundamentally are what ensure the game is played right, right?
Yeah.
And hence the structure. But then you want the flow, because the kind of people that we're dealing with, they are naturally in flow. There is something guiding us to do the kind of business we do. And when you have a perfect mix of that, it's unbelievable. So this is how organizations are formed. So to your question, any organization in this world can only be differentiated by what I call its primary objective, the PO. The primary objective, once defined, will first build an organization and differentiate it from something else. So take a look, right? Let's say EO. EO is its primary objective of EO is education, learning, training, right? Of YPO is peer-to-peer advisory. Of let's say Rotary is a service to the community, and so on. Corporate Connections is business.
Straight away business.
It's business. So corporate connections is for people that are hungry to go from 10 million to 100 million, 100 million to 1,000 million, 8 million. If you have that hunger in your business sense to grow, then corporate connections is from you. I can tell you 40, 50 members in the past 2 years which have been in both organizations or have migrated from other organizations to corporate connections because, yes, you can party, have fun, get all of it, but when business is at the center, it creates an environment of safety to talk about business because we're businessmen, right? The idea is the agenda is defined beautifully. We're in this room to do business, and that's what we're proud of. That's what differentiates us from any organization in the world. And mind you, it's not that in other organizations business doesn't happen. Sometimes it's frowned upon. But the environment so created is a function of let me talk about 500 things and maybe if I feel comfortable, talk about my business because here's what happens at a high level. If I ask you for something, that means I don't have it and you have it. And if I don't have it, that means I'm lesser than you. And in no way do I want to be lesser than you, so I don't ask. This is a fundamental that drives the world. Think about your life. Right? If you want to pick up the phone and call someone and just say, hey man, I'm looking for this client. Can you connect me? You don't do that very often.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
tough to ask for yourself. It's easy to ask for a friend.
Yeah.
Corporate Connections fosters an environment where you must consistently be looking for something to help you grow. That's what separates any organization, but in particular Corporate Connections, from the rest of the world.
Great. I meet multiple of people. They ask me uh, about corporate connections. So I tell in my speech that it is not corporate connections is not explains you or teaches you what to do. It teaches or explains you what not to do. You are
Ha.
here.
I like that line, and the only thing is we don't teach anything, right? The beauty, we're not a teaching organization. We're an organization where people come to learn.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
hence there's a big difference between teaching someone something and someone learning
Learning
something.
something.
We are educating in a sense, sure, with the trainings and the workshops and the great kind of, it's amazing the knowledge that comes into corporate connections. But yeah, you're right, and I will only say this. It's one of my gurus once told me where, what is the difference between a guru and a teacher? A teacher will teach you something. A guru is very much like a rose. And let's say there's, a rose or multiple roses, and you're walking by them. You're walking by them, and you cross the rose. Do you smell the rose? Yeah, you do. Did the rose have to do anything to spit out smell? No. Did you have to really try and inhale it? No. It was just in the presence of the rose, there was an exchange that took place which was natural. That is what I call learning as opposed to teaching, just as a thought.
Great. So, what is your goal behind corporate connections?
Oh, very simple. To bring together 5,000 influencers of India to impact our nation in a way that it has never been impacted before.
Very crisp but so powerful. What is forum and how it helps?
Oh, well, you've gone deep. So, uh, explaining a forum is like explaining meditation a lot of times, right? It's weird to explain it. However, a forum can be best portrayed as a personal advisory body. So every chapter has multiple forums, and you may choose or choose not to be in a forum. There's a strict set of rules. There's a deep workshop understanding that you must attend. However, when you're in a forum, you have possibly, and for me, is certainly the single most committed group of individuals towards your life and your growth. It's your personal board of advisors where everything is on the table, where there is a process which is created over the past 30 years to ensure that you're not just randomly meeting and chatting. There's a structure followed, a discovery process followed to ensure that the meeting is effective each time and every time. Um, a forum is a group of individuals that you will trust more than your best friends, your family, even. Um, there are NDAs signed, there's a very strict confidentiality to it. And a forum drives you to deal with difficult situations in life and also deal with the extraordinary situations in your life. That's the best way I can put a forum forward. All I will say about a forum is the greatest business people in the world today. And I'm talking the likes of a Mukesh Ambani or someone who's really achieved in life. Everyone is in a forum.
Okay.
If you're a business person of a certain note, you can't escape it. You must be in a forum. That's why in Corporate Connections we've grown to just short of 500 members in 3 years. That's unheard of. It's unheard of. And it's not cheap for everyone to be in. The forum experience is not a luxury, it is a necessity if you want to be in peak performance at certain levels in your life. That's how I'll put it.
So now we are left with three more questions.
Sure.
They are a bit deeper. How does corporate connections redefine its value proposition for leaders who have already achieved a significant milestone and have a vast network? What unique offerings can CC provide to these individuals that they can't find elsewhere? Because we meet a sort of people, they say, I have network, I have access to people, everybody knows me in the city. So why I should be part of corporate connections then?
Straightforward question, and I'll put it like this, man. I have access to information about the best exercise techniques, best nutrition, and I can think about it. I can read about it. I can know everything there is to about it. But it doesn't mean I'm going to have a fit body, because to have a fit body, I'm going to have to practice the things that I know. I'm going to have to exercise it. I'm going to have to go for a run or do yoga or go to the gym, whatever form that I have to do. Just like an artist can't sit and visualize art, you have to do it. Corporate Connections is an arena for you to exercise your networking or your communication or your business building skills. The unique proposition that it provides is quite spectacular because it is quite simple. There's only three things. Number one, we have one chapter meeting a month. And subset of that is we have one experience meeting a month. So twice a month, a chapter of Corporate Connections is meeting. So the unique kind of offering here is out of sight, out of mind. It forces you to meet, because a lot of times in our life, yes, like I have a great network, but do I really exercise with my network? Do I get together at the same time, same place every time? How often do I even keep in touch with my friends, really? Because everyone here is busy. Anyone watching this video, you're busy, you don't have time. Because you don't have time, you're coming into Corporate Connections. If you had time, don't come to Corporate Connections. That's just how it's as simple as that. But because you don't have time, you want to expedite the process. That's a unique offering. You make sure. So the first one is we meet twice a month. Second is the forums. The forum is not exactly unique, because there are organizations that offer the forum. The forums at CC, I've had meetings with several people around the world who've been in different organizations who have forums. The CC forum truly is special and unique. And it has something to do with the intensity with which we build relationships. Because there is a structure to it, it becomes a lot tighter, a lot more focused, a lot more driven, and hence the forums get deep really fast. And the third one is we have a lot of fun. I think in the process of doing a lot of business, we forget sometimes to enjoy the things that we truly do enjoy. Like, you might love to scuba dive. I'm a diver, I'm a rescue diver. Some people are skydivers or surfers or whatever it is, you're horse riders, your passion is. We forget to do it because we're so busy. And Corporate Connections, in its own way, kind of pushes you to, you have that one friend who picks up the phone and says, come on, man, let's go. He calls you twice, let's go, and then you're going. Very much like this interview, we wouldn't have done it. I was busy. I must respect you for the consistent and persistent push that you made to make this happen. That's what someone in a CC chapter would do for you. We're going to the Maldives. No, I'm busy. We're going to the Maldives. No, I'm busy. Third time we're going to the Maldives. You go. Truth is, when you go there, how do you feel? You
It's an
love it,
awesome,
and
yeah.
you realize the world runs without you anyways, right? And it kind of serves as a reminder to have some fun. So I think those are the three primary unique offerings at CC.
As industries and market evolve, so do networking strategies. How
Sure.
does corporate connections ensure it remains at the forefront of networking evolution, especially for leaders who have seen and experienced various networking paradigms throughout their career?
Quite a mouthful. Look, once again, it's kind of a repetition, but the reality is we are the world's best at what we do. What that means is, in terms of curating an environment where networking is done smartly, effectively, and in a attitude of safety, in an environment of safety. That's what we do best. Whether it be the chapter meetings and the agenda as it follows, no one else has it. Whether it be the one-to-one conclaves or the opportunities to meet members nationally or internationally with our national conventions or the global conventions, or the regional conventions that happen, the way they are structured, it is that's our intellectual property. That's what makes it powerful, because we get networking. Because corporate connections is for, well, technically three kinds of people: people that are very busy and don't have time to network, people that are not great networkers. Contrary to popular beliefs, Savan, I am not a great networker. Yes, I can go and talk to people, but the I'm not someone who will meet someone and think, oh, this is what I want from this guy, let me build that. And that's also not we preach at Corporate Connections. People around the world in universities teach that. I think it's wrong. We're not meeting someone with the intent of taking something from them. The idea is we're meeting someone so that we can build a beautiful relationship with them, and maybe we'll give, maybe we'll take, and the bank account keeps continuing over time. But people who are not great networkers, let's just put it that way. And third is people who find themselves in a place where they are lonely. Three types of people that Corporate Connections is great for. And not lonely, like I don't mean it in a sad sense. I just want to clarify. I mean it in a sense of they're high performing so high at a certain level where, let's say you're Sachin Tendulkar, you're batting so well, you need a great bowler to bowl to you. If it's someone weak, you just feel bored. You know what I mean?
True.
Like creating an environment that pushes you, kind of lonely. Um, so that's that, and that's what we do better than anyone else in the world. And that's what makes Corporate Connections unique as a networking platform, because of the know how, the opportunities, and the access.
Great. Networking at the top can sometimes be seen as a zero sum game where leaders are protective of their connections and resources. How does corporate connections navigate this challenge and foster a collaborative environment among high level professionals?
Beautiful. Let's understand it structurally, but it's simple. Number one, yes, I don't know high level, low level people, but people are protective of their connections, because it's easy for me to buy a product from you, right? Because if I don't like it, great, I lost some money. But for me to recommend it to my mother, for example, now I have a relationship at stake, right? If I tell her to use your product and it's not good, you get it. There's a relationship at stake. We are protective of our connections, and hence, number one thing, if you want to remember one word for Corporate Connections, if the one word that's written on my board that I live with is, what is Corporate Connections doing? It is fostering trust amongst its members.
Okay.
When you trust someone, your connections open up. Trust is critical. Number two, how do we build that trust? Consistent meetings done in a certain structure, done regularly every month. That's what ensures trust is built. Think about it. If we met once a week, twice a week, or twice a month, every month, what's going to happen? Two things. Either we'll really trust each other or we really won't trust each other. Either ways, you're not in the middle anymore.
True.
Right? And number three, right, in this process of being at a very high level, is the truth is that, well, the peak of every mountain is the bottom of the next. For every person that thinks they're at the highest level, trust me, there's someone younger, someone with more hunger. There's someone pushing forward or someone already at a much higher level. It is not a zero sum game. In your head, it might be, but I'm sorry, that's just wrong. No matter who you are, no matter who you are, there is a relationship that is going to help you grow. And only when you open up your connections, right, and when you've built that trust, you're meeting regularly and you're opening up that connections, you're shifting up in your life as a whole. And that's what a relationship can do for you.
So, this is one question. What's the most unexpected challenge corporate connection has faced, and how was it overcome?
Wow. I don't know if I can talk about COVID or is it taboo, but the first big one is I think COVID when it hit 2020, and we were just kind of, in the middle of building corporate connections. It was still small in India, and COVID said, do whatever you want, just don't shake hands with people. And Corporate Connection says, hey, come and let's shake hands with people. It felt like it was targeting Corporate Connections. It felt like COVID was given a job, destroy in-person relationships, right? And it was unexpected, came out of nowhere. But the reality, Savan, in the year 2020 to 21, we grew 88%. We have never grown as much as we did. And how we overcame is we realized this one fundamental concept. We will continue to build our relationships no matter what, because the show must go on. Our businesses must continue to thrive. And only in times of crisis do we need each other more, right? Only when stuff goes down, that's when opportunities come about. That's when you buy. That's not when you sell. And in order to do that, we must continue it. So if COVID says don't shake hands, don't worry, we'll do it online. If the internet dies, we'll do it on the phone. If the phone dies, we will sell letters to each other. If letters are banned, we will sell pigeons to each other, but we will continue to do our relationship building, right? That's the kind of attitude we rolled out with, and we started doing our online meetings for those 2 years, and we grew multifold. And it was powerful to see because it also led the whole world to come into one room. And we were able to very carefully create our systems, our technology. I'm grateful to all of the stuff that happened in Corporate Connections in Montreal or in Canada and the US, the infrastructure that came about that we were able to provide to our members to seamlessly transition in and out of the online and in-person world.
So, all questions of my corporate connections are
Sure.
done, and now it is. I want you to open up fully because these are obviously your personal questions.
Okay.
So,
Now I'm
your
more worried. Let's see.
your thoughts on first generation entrepreneurship.
I have a lot of respect for first generation entrepreneurs. I, however, do not think that we should mollycoddle either ways, because the question is it tougher to run 100-year-old business, take over one, or to be a first generation entrepreneur? I think both are hard. We need to choose our heart. We need to choose which one we want to be. However, first generation entrepreneurs, let's say we restrict the question to the first generation entrepreneurs coming out today. I think we have a incredible access to information. We have an incredible access to the world overall in this globalized economy. The opportunity is unlimited. I I would urge and insist that first generation entrepreneurs, people who are coming in to or setting up a whole new business, get more focused in their value proposition. Really define it in a specific manner and not be too broad. And not get too carried away with, other people telling them about valuations and just building an Excel sheet. There is there is one, I mean, there's people that make money and there's people that add value. And every time you add value, that's how you build a business. And I think if that message goes to all first generation entrepreneurs, it would touch my heart.
Your life journey.
And I've been a very blessed person my whole life. I'm the most blessed person you've met. I had incredible parents. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of love growing up. My and I am sincerely grateful to my mother and father for that environment. I have a younger brother. I have a beautiful wife now and two kids. I started off in India and I was in boarding school for a lot of my life, and then I had the opportunity to move to the US. I studied to be a doctor, to be a neurosurgeon in a sense. So I specialized in neuroscience and behavioral psych with a degree in economics. And then I moved to Dubai. That's a story. I moved to Dubai to, I wanted to do something on my own, not join the family business, which was in logistics. So I moved to Dubai thinking that I want a job that allows me to travel for free. And I got a job, funnily enough, as a peon at the BL counter in a shipping line. Please note, everyone, you don't get to travel on a on a cargo ship, okay? You don't get to travel for free. In my little head, that's why I took the opportunity. It'll allow me to travel, but it was quite the experience. I was rationed food in Dubai. If you want to be poor in Dubai. They will make you realize what it feels to be poor, anyhow, it was, I think, the greatest experience of my life. The truth is, I hated it at that time, but I realized everything I did not want to be, everything I did not want to do to others. And then I had the opportunity to buy out a small company here in India. We grew in that field, and for the past 10 years, my life has been around education. So I built some of the largest communities in the world, as you know, for business people. And now we have a what I think is my life's kind of big project called the Plato's University. It is the world's greatest program for 10 to 14-year-old kids. I call it a beyond school for children. We're opening up around the world. We'll be in 75 countries in the next 5 years. So we're growing really fast, and primarily because the kind of no matter who you meet, from Papua New Guinea to the US, they're going to tell you that we need something, we need to change our education system. We need to do, everyone talks about it, everyone gets it. But what we've done at Plato's is just taken life, leadership, and entrepreneurship as three pillars in this fabric of education. And it's a beyond school that runs on the weekends for 2 years. And I am so proud to see our Platonites, as we call them, our children at Plato's, come out and you meet them, Savan. They are absolute beasts, monsters, in the right sense. And so prepared for life, because I think as we grow, um, we must appreciate the value of surrendering to a higher self, to a higher being, and also a skill that I would wish to develop, and I think is critical today, is resilience. And these kind of things don't happen just by arithmetic or science. You want to build that value system, that culture, because if you look at billionaires in the world, where do you think, what kind of education do you think they send their children for? If you look at it ratio wise, really around the world, they send them to liberal arts like communication, those kind of that kind of college education. Why? Because we realize that it is public speaking or interpersonal skills or delegation, or these are the things that make great individuals, not you know things that may not matter in the future. So, not that schooling is bad or something's bad with our country, it's just we're evolving at a fast rate. I think human beings are evolving. I think, of course, technology and everything coming about. So, education has been our vision, and I'm so excited to see what's happening with Plato's and corporate connections as we continue to grow.
As you have traveled a lot, what is your learning
Oh,
and experience out of it?
man, every time I've traveled, I have learned, I have grown. All I will say is if exercise is for your body, reading is for your mind, travel is for your soul. Um, because people say this often, push yourself outside your comfort zone, that's when you grow. However, the reality is when you are traveling alone, outside, internationally, especially in an environment that is not yours, you are so far outside your comfort zone that you must grow. You must grow. Last year I became a helicopter pilot, and I was back in the U.S. and I stayed there for 4 months. This year I got to climb Kilimanjaro. I was in Cuba. I dived in Iceland, in ice for the first time. It was my first dry suit kind of experience. Every bit of those stories has made me who I am today, um, because you learn from the environment, the culture, the people, the experiences. It is your real MBA. It is your real education. So I don't want to get into. There's so many stories. We should do a whole podcast just on that. But I do urge people to continue to travel. It does help you learn a lot.
In one of your videos, as you mentioned, every day you meet new people. Tell us something about that.
Well, if I understand the video you're referring to, well, there's two thoughts, right? One is I made a personal commitment to myself, and I'll share the three since these are personal questions. I set aside The three things I do no matter what. First one is I set aside X amount of money and X amount of time every year, no matter what. X amount of money, X amount of time for the past 12 years on my brain. It could be learning a new skill. It could be just straight, like 2 years ago, I became an NLP master practitioner. Last year, I learned how to fly a helicopter. It could be a meditation program. This year, I'm doing a silent retreat. Whatever it is, you're doing, you're investing in your mind in some form or another. It doesn't have anything to do with your business, but it has everything to do with your business. The second thing I do is I make it a point to meet people, as you're referring, who I believe in my head are more achieved than I am, because they inspire me to push a little harder, to strive a little more. And it doesn't achievement is not about money. It's about, there are people who are living extraordinary lives. Maybe the way they feel about their bodies, or the way they take care of their families, or the way they build their organizations. I make it a point to meet these people, because how else do you learn, right? I don't know any other way. Uh, and the third one, and the third one is I commit to make my schedule in a manner and announce it at least 1 year in advance. And I think that's something that a high performing individual must do at any point in time, where you create a system of things that are going to happen in 2024, which are fixed, like you have to be there, certain meetings, events, whatever. Things that are not so fixed, but you have to make sure they happen. And then you create a rhythm between all the organizations that you own, or all the people that you want to be with. But when you're building your calendar, start with your vacations. Start with your vacations, work backwards. It's going to change your life. If these three things help, I do them, and I believe most people should.
So, what is that inspires Yash Vasant the most?
Ooh. Um, I will have to say people. I think human beings are beautiful, man. The kind of stuff we're able to achieve. I mean, look at it. I can barely run 10 kilometers, without like getting my breath in my lungs out. And there are people running 200 kilometers. Like, look at what Ironmen are doing. It tells me the possibilities that exist, the amount of stuff that we can do with our bodies, with our minds. I mean, there are people making $1 billion a day. Think about it. And to me, I think there's two kinds of individuals. There's one that looks at someone who has done something great and feels envy, jealous. And then there's individuals like us. When we look at someone who's achieved, we look at them and say, wow, if he can do it, why not me? And that inspires me a lot. Inspires me a lot. So I think individuals that do crazy things inspires me, is an inspiration to me, because I am certain we are crazy, and I like crazy.
So, I come to my last question, and I want you to be so open and blunt about that this question. So, your one mistake and your actions on the same.
I made a few. Because we win or we learn, right? We've lived with that attitude. But here, I'll tell you a sincere one. When I started my business journey, we were building this logistics company and moving containers around the world. It was a forwarding business. Um, and when I started the business, we were doing maybe, let's say, 10 containers a month. And about 2 years in, and I was a star, I had three cell phones, and I was constantly going and building the team and getting all these clients and onboarding, new things in the company. And we grew from doing 10 containers a month to doing 400 containers a month. Cool, yeah? I
Definitely.
felt like top of the world. I felt like, man, I was the greatest businessman ever alive, and I was 21 years old. And I was like, man, look at how big we are. And I had all the revenue, and there was money being spent. And then finally, I get a call from my accountant saying the chief accountant, our CPA, he wants to meet. I said, okay, well, what does he want? He said, no, he wants to meet. And I go in, and I still remember, I went into his office, and I'm grateful to him today. He kicks the chair in front of him, and he says, what the hell are you doing? I said, man, what do you mean? And we never interacted in that sense. And he says, yes, you used to make more money when you did 5 containers a month than when you're doing now. You made a loss of upwards of 62 lakh rupees. Said, man, but I'm doing all this revenue, I have like 20, 30 crores of business I'm doing. And he says, Yash, do you understand how business works? And I said, yeah, yeah, I do. He said, boss, just remember one thing. And he told me this, and it has stuck with me forever. He said, forget business. You understand A, B, C, D? I said, yeah, I understand A, B, C, D. He says, A comes before B, correct? I said, yes, A comes before B. He said, then remember, accounts before business. Accounts comes before business. And since then, today, my whole group, we have about 30 odd companies. I control all the finance where I manage the accounts. The money goes through me. I learned it. I spend time with people who learned it. I focus and sit with my accounts team. My best friends are chartered accountants. My people around me are in finance. I learned a skill that I completely ignored, and that's how I overcame it. But A comes before B. Do not forget it.
So, last session of our interview, that's rapid fire questions.
Let's go.
So, I'll give you one word and you answer in
Sure.
one word.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Excited.
Communication,
Life,
network,
health
vision,
is everything. If I can get another word, vision, like I want to stress vision. Without a vision, you don't know where you're going. You can be as motivated as you want running in the direction of west looking for the sunrise. You'll never find it. Vision is alignment. Better.
father,
Bravery,
corporate connections,
a safe place,
motivation,
helps you get started.
family,
Um, adds meaning to an otherwise dull life,
growth,
is happiness.
lesson,
Um, love more, hate less. Time is too short.
failures,
Learnings.
goal,
Real goal to reach a stage where you don't want anything. Until we reach that goal, to impact at least 30 million lives.
India.
Rocket.
Thank you so much. It was an awesome time having you here and great insights on corporate connections, your personal life, and everything. Thank you so much for.
Man, you're awesome, Savan. Thank you very much. And thank you for listening to all of those that are there. I really appreciate it. Thanks, brother.
Thank,
Wish you luck.